Have you heard of the most wronged woman on the planet? This is the story of a Muslim educator, speaker, academic, and activist who had great aspirations to transform the education system in Pakistan, but whose dreams were destroyed and life turned upside down in the cruelest way imaginable. This is the story of Dr. Afia Siddiqui. Afia Siddiqui was born in Karachi and excelled in her studies. She moved to the US, earning a full scholarship to study at MIT and later a PhD in cognitive neuroscience at Brandeis University. Afia's brilliance went beyond academia. She was deeply involved in community work, volunteering to care for children, the elderly, preaching Islam, and participating in humanitarian relief efforts to support those suffering around the world. After marrying and having 3 children, Afia returned to Pakistan in 2002, determined to help transform its education system. But this dream was abruptly cut short. In 2003, whilst on the route to Karachi airport, Afia was abducted along with her 3 children by Pakistani intelligence officials in an extraordinary incident of cruelty. Rather than returning her 3 children to her family in Pakistan, Ahmed, age 6, was sent to a juvenile prison. Maryam, age 3, was sent to a foster family. And the fate of Suleiman, her youngest child, who was 6 months old at the time, remains unknown. Where was she taken? Media outlets began to spread false rumors of her being on the run and involved in plots of terrorism. Her family had no idea if she was even still alive. It seemed for 5 years that Afia had vanished without a trace. Despite US officials repeatedly denying holding Afia, mounting evidence suggested that she was being held at a US black site. It seemed like the truth would never be found until eyewitness reports began to emerge from detainees held at US military prison Bagram in Afghanistan, describing the loud and piercing screams of a female prisoner. That prisoner was Dr. Afia Siddiqui.
फिर मुझे आइसोलेशन में रखा गया था अपस्टेयर्स में, तो फिर कुछ दिनों के बाद कोई खातून को लाया गया। वो खातून को के ऊपर टॉर्चर किया जाता था, तो टॉर्चर के दौरान वो जोर जोर से चीखती थी और उसकी उर्दू में उसकी आवाजें आती थी, जिस बिना पर फिर मैंने गार्ड से पूछा, तो गार्ड्स ने मुझे बताया था कि ये पाकिस्तानी खातून है और इसको टॉर्चर किया जा रहा है, इसका नाम आफिया है।
She had been held for 5 years, undergoing physical and psychological torture, with international pressure mounting to find her. In 2008, she was released from Bagram, but unknown to her, she was released into a trap. Afia was pressured to travel to Ghazni in Afghanistan under the false promise of meeting her daughter Maryam there.
But they're on a bus together going to Ghazni to get the daughter in theory, but that's not what's going to happen. This is all designed for her to be killed as a suicide bomber. They've dressed the child up in a jacket with 4 big pockets with big bits of fruit in it. It's July the 17th, 2008. It's the middle of summer. He doesn't need a jacket. But the jacket is obviously designed to look like some sort of suicide jacket.
Meanwhile, Afghan police had been tipped off to expect the arrival of a woman matching the description of Afia, who was going to attempt to carry out an act of terror. The police nearly killed her, only stopped by the intervention of a local. Afia was then taken into police custody. It is here in police custody that US officials claim that Afia grabbed the soldier's rifle and attempted to kill them. Afia was then shot in the torso, the only individual injured in this incident. This was obviously a fabricated story. Numerous questions were asked. Why were Afia's fingerprints not found on the gun? Why was there no gunshot residue found on her hands or on her clothes? Where were the discharged shells from the gun that she supposedly fired? All of the evidence and eyewitness reports pointed towards her innocence. In fact, US officials presented a video showing a wall in that room that had 2 bullet holes from Afia's supposed shooting. Upon further investigation, that same wall was found to have had the same 2 holes earlier that very day. All of this pointed to a cover-up of a wrongful shooting of Afia by US Army personnel. Following all of this, Afia was illegally taken to the US, where she faced charges for attempted murder. In a shocking miscarriage of justice, Afia was sentenced to 86 years imprisonment. Afia is currently being held in FMC Carswell in Fort Worth, Texas, and has been in prison now for a total of 21 years and counting, undergoing unspeakable acts of torture and abuse. It is no wonder that her case has been described as one of the worst cases of individual injustice ever seen. Through tireless campaigning for her release from her supporters and new evidence that has been brought to light by her lawyer Clive Stafford Smith, there is real hope for Afia. What her release requires is sustained pressure and involvement from all of us. Join the movement, #SaveAfia now.